So for this, I'm trying a different review style. Just kind of put some facts down on a Google Doc and a few thoughts, and then just kind of freelance the rest of it. I kind of in a rush. That's why I'm doing it this way. The rest of them will be normal stuff, but it's Mother's Day, and I don't want to take up too much time. But the story we're going to talk about today is a Toy Story, or better known as just Toy Story. One of the best Pixar films ever made. And what I'd like is that I've talked about this prior to this review. Is the four Toy Story films show a progression of Pixar's animation, but we'll talk about that in a minute. First off, it's directed by John Lasseter and it's from 1995, a family animated adventure. Stars Tim Allen as Buzz, Tom Hanks as Sheriff Woody, Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head, Wallace Shaw as Rex, Annie Potts as Little Bo Peep, John Ratzenberg as Ham, Laurie Metcalf as Andy's mom, John Morris as Andy Davis, and Jim Varney as Slinky. I just thought of something. I have a few things I could show off here for this movie. So first off, we've got a little Rex minifigure. Oh, maybe not put it so close to the camera. We've got Buzz Lightyear. Oh, hit my arm there. Talk about. Let's see. Got Woody. Alien, little green man, LGM there. And Miss Bo Peep. But this is her Toy Story 4 look versus her normal Toy Story appearance. All of the other Toy Story ones I have are from the other movies. This is Jessie, but it's technically from Toy Story 4. And then we got Bunny. Somewhere around here I've got a little ducky somewhere. I know he's in here. Here he is. When I say little, I literally meant little. He is tiny. That's all for the Toy Story ones, though, I think. There may be more. I could be wrong. I'd actually have to take some time to look at it. And I completely forgot about them, as like I said, I'm just trying to get through this, so we're not taking up too much time here on Mother's Day. So, interestingly enough, has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I never actually realized that, and I agree with that. 100%. Has a budget of $30 million. It made $373.6 million at the box office. Not quite The Lion King, but wow, it's still pretty good. I'll give it that. So it definitely has one of the best scores of any Disney Pixar film, thanks in large part to Randy Newman, who is the composer and singer. Songs you may recognize are almost said Friend Like Me, You've Got a Friend in Me. It's definitely one of the highlights and one that a lot of people talk about. But we're not here to talk about music. We're here to talk about animation. Pixar started long before 1995, and they had released several shorts. I believe their first one was Knick Knack. This little tin character. I've never actually watched a lot of the Pixar shorts. There are people out there who have watched every single one of them. I'm not one of those people. But their first feature-length film was in 1995 with Toy Story. And the animation was good, but it needed improvement. Their second film was Bug's Life, and then their third film was Toy Story 2, where the animation was definitely increased, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's, I'm not saying that the animation is bad. This is groundbreaking technology that they used. The technology they used, the 3D animation, CG animation, was groundbreaking in 1995. And they took their time to improve it over time. So 1999, I think, is the correct year for this. This is probably just going to have... Yeah. Yeah, 1999. It won a Golden Globe in 2000, so it would be 1999. They improved the animation, and then 11 years later, Toy Story 3 came out. And the animation quality was very much drastically different. It was cleaner. They're able to render humans better than they were in the original film. That's kind of why they went with toys versus humans. It's easier for them to animate toys than it was for them to animate humans at the time. So that's kind of why they went with that. And as they got better, that's when you started seeing more human characters. Andy's mom, Al, Andy himself, Bonnie and her parents. And then you come to Toy Story 4, 9 years after Toy Story 3. When the water looks lifelike, the trees are flowing through the breeze beautifully. Toy Story is the story of Pixar's animation rather than toys going about life. And that's what I love about it. It takes, here's where we started. This is our first feature-length film. Yeah, it doesn't look great, but we tried, and now it's a success. Here we are, 25 years later, and we've got trees that look lifelike, water that flows crystal clear. The story of animation is inside the 4 Toy Story films. You could argue same thing for the 2 Incredibles movies or the 2 Monsters Inc. movies, but I will shut your argument down and just say Toy Story, man. There's 3 eras represented. The first era where they're trying, which is 1995 to 1999. The early 2000s, so like we'll say 2000 to 2010, where they're getting better. And then 2010 to, we'll just say now for 2020, where we've got this. Sit down, DreamWorks. We're fine. We don't need your competition. Screw you. We got this. So that's always nice to see. There's a nice rescue mission story inside of it. As Woody is trying to rescue Buzz after knocking him out of a window, and obviously there's some resentment for that, even though it was clearly an accident. You get the famous "You are a toy" line, and then they get inside the Pizza Planet truck and they drive over to Pizza Planet, where they get stuck inside the claw machine. They're then won by Sid, who gets a 3 for, I believe it's one alien, Woody, and Buzz. And Sid is played by Eric Von Detten. I had to actually seriously look, because when you look at a movie's Google page and you go over to cast, which is usually what I use because it's all right there, sometimes you gotta scroll a long time and then it's not listed in that separate section, so you have to go to the Wikipedia and look it up. That's what I ended up having to do. It was a pain in the ass, but it's what I'm here for. Sid's kind of a creepy dude. Again, that's all thanks in part to the whole we can't really animate humans yet. He is absolutely shit your pants terrifying to look at. But hey, it was 1995 and they were trying. I would give them props for that. So obviously the 3 toys are taken back to Sid's house, and they're trying. Sid lives next to Andy, and Buzz and Woody are trying to get a hold of the other toys, but then Buzz loses an arm and turns into Miss Nesbit, which is probably the funniest scene in Toy Story history. Is Buzz thinks he's a girl and he's sitting there drinking tea with all of Sid's sister's toys. And Woody's trying to get the other toys' attention. They're like, let's see Buzz. And he's using the arm and he's waving to him. And they're like, no, we want to see the full Buzz. And then he's like, what about Buzz? And pulls the arm towards him. And they see the connector piece. And they're like, this guy just ripped off Buzz's arm. He's psycho. And now they don't want to rescue him. And the next day, Buzz gets fitted with a bottle rocket and is going to get shot up in the air and blown up, much like many of Combat Carl's in the past. That's dark, man. Obviously, before Sid can blow them up, Woody uses the rest of Andy's or Sid's toys and the sisters' toys to, of course, rescue Buzz before being blown to smithereens. Yeah, kids movies, guys, they're fucking dark when you don't even realize it. Y'all remember that whole Stockholm syndrome with Beauty and the Beast? Yeah. This is psychotic child wants to murder a toy who's sentient, but he doesn't realize it's sentient until Woody does an exorcism move, twists his head around, and he's all like, so play nice. And sends Sid straight to fucking therapy where he's got to sit there like, the toys get back to life, man. And the therapist is just like, what they do? Give their son crack? Whew! You start to read in those things and you're like, who allowed this and why? Yeah. And we appreciate this studio now because it gave us things like Finding Nemo. And that has a father who is more than likely going through the 7 stages of, I think it's grief, where, it's like, yeah, your kid's actually dead, but you're imagining things, but he's actually dead. Whew. So they use RC to blast off down the road, and they eventually light the rocket. They take off and they unstrap it. Now Buzz is flying, but he's not actually flying. He's falling with style. And they drop RC into the truck, and then Woody goes, Buzz, you missed the truck. And Buzz just responds with, we're not aiming for the truck. And yes, I have seen that Vine where he crashes into the Twin Towers. Yes, that's fucked up, but I still laugh at it. I'm sorry, I'm a terrible human being. But vines, man, another thing that's dark when you needed it. And so they land in the van next to Andy, and Andy just kind of looks over like, oh yeah, those have been there the whole time. Not really. He has a nice little heartwarming reaction. Then the movie ends at Christmas time. Rex gets himself a little dinosaur. So I really find that this movie is, while it is kind of creepy and dark and depressing when you really start to think about it, it's still so good and such a classic movie, and we watched this so many times. Actually, the one I watched the most, though, was Toy Story 2 as a kid, just because at some point we lost our VHS for Toy Story. Don't know how that happened. And we only had the Toy Story 2 one, and I remember watching that so much. So, the voice acting is great, obviously. When you've got Tim Allen and Tom freaking Hanks, Forrest Gump and the Green Mile, I believe Apollo 13. I don't have that one in here anymore. Polar Express, all those, classic Tom Hanks. And then Tim Allen of the Santa Claus, Home Improvement, Last Man Standing. Of course, Last Man Standing came out long after the original Toy Story, but it's still a good thing to talk about. Jungle to Jungle is another one. I've never seen that, but I know a lot of people find it to be a classic. Excuse me a moment, my throat is dry. Nice H2O. There's nobody I can truly complain about, actually, and a lot of that is, you've kind of got this star-studded cast. Again, Tim Allen, Tom Hanks, Don Rickles, Wallace Shaw, Annie Potts of Ghostbusters. John Ratzenberg is kind of a who, if you aren't a big Pixar person. He's in at least every movie. Plays a character. Laurie Metcalf and John Morris are probably the two that I don't recognize. Like, I recognize Laurie Metcalf's face, and I want to say it's either Young Sheldon and Big Bang Theory that she's in, or it's this other show that's on ABC that I heard about. And of course, Jim Varney, aka Ernest P. Worrell. I promise you will see one Ernest movie, and if you don't know what Ernest is, click off of this video and find something. I'm sure you can find them for free somewhere. They're kind of these goofy slapstick kids movies. The only one I can say that ever scared the living fuck out of me. And I know there's a lot of F-bombs in this video, but I don't care. It's my channel. Do what I want. The only one that really scared me to death was Ernest Scared Stupid. There's this like creepy swamp monster thing that my brothers used to be like, it's gonna get you, it's gonna get you. And of course, 6, 7-year-old me, it's like sitting there in bed like, when is this thing gonna come get me? They said it was going to. Now I can't sleep. Screwed up? Yes. Older brother shenanigans? Of course. Another thing, we talked about the animation, we talked about the music, we've talked about the acting. What I want to talk about, though, is why I think this deserves the 100% it has. Not only is this a groundbreaking film for Pixar, but also for DreamWorks. They saw that, hey, that John Lasseter guy, he's got some good stuff. And one of the Pixar executives founded DreamWorks, and I'm gonna look it up now because the name has officially escaped me, and I'll recognize it as soon as I see it. Jeffrey Katzenberg. He was once part of Steven Spielberg founded this as well. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Oh, I now get the SKG next to DreamWorks. Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen, however the hell you say that. Anyway, Jeffrey Katzenberg worked with Pixar and then had a falling out. So he went off and founded DreamWorks. And that's where the whole Bugs Life Ants debacle came from. Sort of the Road to El Dorado, Emperor's New Groove situation. There's another one. There was another one. I can't think of it at this moment. Maybe Shrek and Monsters, Inc. I don't know too much about that one. I think because Shrek came out a year before, it wasn't that big of a deal. But anyway, so after Jeffrey Katzenberg left and founded DreamWorks, they started to produce their films, and now you've got DreamWorks and Pixar competing against each other constantly at the box office. But now it just seems like we see less and less of DreamWorks and more from Sony Animation and Illumination competing with Pixar, which is sad. I'd love to see another DreamWorks movie, and let's see if there were any slated for 2020. Let's see, DreamWorks movies 2020. Oh, Trolls World Tour. I didn't realize that was DreamWorks. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I don't care for the Trolls movies. And I definitely thought Trolls was Illumination. It just has that Minions vibe to it. And the Croods too. Okay. So there were 2 slated for 2020. That's interesting. The other Pixar movie, Soul, that was slated for 2020 has been pushed back. I haven't been able to find anything. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, which is always possible. On if they've pushed it back or when they're going to push it back to. I believe it was November it's supposed to come out. Let's see. No, June. So they still actually have the June 19th release date. So you're probably not going to push it back then. I don't know. I think if you're pushing back a lot of your films, the more popular ones like Mulan and Black Widow, you should just push back the ones people aren't excited to see. Not to say I wasn't excited, because it's supposed to be like Inside Out, and Inside Out's definitely top notch Pixar. But anyhow, so Toy Story, 10 out of 10, Silver Shamrock, all of that. This movie has earned what it has for the past 15, 25 years that it's been out. If you haven't somehow seen it, which I highly doubt, if you're my age, I know you've seen it. If you're my brother's age, which is about 25, you've definitely seen it. My sister's age, which is close to 30, you have definitely seen it, because you probably went to theaters and saw it with your parents. So seriously, go watch this. If you have kids, it's the perfect movie for kids. All four of them really are like the absolute perfect age for children. So tomorrow we'll start the sequel train and talk about Toy Story 2, one I am quite excited to talk about, because as again, this one lived in my VHS player. We watched it, or at least I watched. I can't say that my siblings did, but I watched it quite a bit. And ironically, it's actually the one I at least see my niece and nephew watching. They watch Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 more than anything. I gotta get them onto these classic Toy Story and Toy Story 2 movies. So until tomorrow, which, yes, will actually make sense finally, since my Instagram schedule that I posted says that Monday is Toy Story 2. You'll actually get a video out on Monday for Toy Story 2. You won't have to wait a day. I have fixed it by sitting on my ass doing nothing except for recording videos. I hope all of you have a great time today with your moms. I know quarantine kind of sucks, and if you can't go see your mom because of quarantine, I hope you at least FaceTime her or Zoom chat her, or I hate to sound like that old guy, but the whatever you do. So happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there, and for all of you mothers to be, happy future Mother's Day. I am Luke. I will see you tomorrow with Toy Story 2.